Hello. Happy Sunday, everybody. Adjusting my mic level. Hello, Karen. Hello, Donnell. Let me know how I sound. Is there sound? Gil, my trusted friend in England, do you hear me okay? It's very odd with the microphone here because sometimes when I have it plugged in when I start it doesn't you don't hear me. All right, great, sounds good. So welcome everybody. I'm going to say hi to a bunch of people as you guys join on this Sunday. Thank you, Gil. It's your birthday, Saul. It's your birthday. Great. Okay. Awesome. So last week's Instagram Live did not post. For those of you that were asking me or wondering what happened to it or didn't see it, so what I am going to do is I will show, hello Kathy, hello David in London, another birthday. Hello, Teresa. You missed last week because it was your grandson Santino's baptism. Well, that is a very good reason to miss Everybody Loves Raymond 360 Live. And it didn't post. Like I said, I don't know what happened. So I'm going to show, I'm going to go through whenever I don't have a guest. I like to show the inside of a script from the wardrobe department, never before seen. So I'm going to show two. We're going to take a peek inside of two today. Hello, everybody. Yes, saying hello. So and again, a couple of the topics that I covered last week, I'll talk about them real quickly. For example, if anybody asked a question last week, but I'll try off the top of my head. I know it was an hour-long live and some really, really great questions. Somebody asked if Kevin James, King of Queens, was a spin-off of Everose Raymond, and it was not. King of Queens was developed by a few gentlemen, and they cast Kevin in it. So it was the different type of scenario than Everose Raymond. Everose Raymond, Ray Romano did a live appearance on David Letterman. Letterman gave him a development deal. They wanted to find a showrunner. They found Phil Rosenthal. He wrote the pilot with Ray in mind. So King of Queens, they may have had Ray in mind a little bit, but it was not. Kevin had a deal, and then they built a sitcom around him, even though it seems very, what is the word? A perfect Kevin vehicle. Let's just say that. All right, let's go through. Let me. Great. Hello. Yes, you love the King of Queens episode with Marie in it. Yes. Kevin James is about as funny a person as there is on the planet. So yes, love seeing those scripts with the Polaroids on them. Yeah, those are great. All right, let me just adjust a little bit of a thing here. There we go. Yes, is Ray's wife. Okay, so I just saw Ray's wife. She is going to come on with Phil's wife. And we will do a live interview with Phil's wife and Ray's wife. And we will see if Anna was a bad cook. But I can tell you, knowing her, I can say she wasn't. She's Sicilian. Her parents were Sicilian immigrants. So they liked to cook. And so she is the first generation here. So, yeah. And I think that was more Phil filling in from his side, but we'll have to ask Monica about that. But I do know if it was between Phil's wife and Ray's wife, cooking-wise, I think Phil would lean towards Anna because, who doesn't like Italian food? All right, sad news. Ed Asner, I did not hear. Okay. Hello from London, Mr. Vigaman. Hello. Yes, great. So, let's talk. My boyfriend and I watch Everybody Loves Raymond every morning from the UK. Thank you, Joanne Baker, for that. That's awesome. Yeah, I think a big audience in the UK, especially when it's on in the morning, it's a good time to a good way to start your day. And I think there was somebody, I want to say from InSync, who talked about how he loves watching Everybody Loves Raymond. Hello, Nettie Pawprint. Hello, Sandra in New Jersey. Hello, Chicago. Robin. Yes. So let's talk a little bit about that photo which I posted. Okay. So the photo I posted, and then I'm going to show one of the scripts from the script I showed last week, and then at the end I'll look at another random script. So the photo I posted, it's one of the funniest moments in the show. It's Ray slamming Patty, Deborah, into the refrigerator. And in my comment I said that joke took the setup of Robert putting Amy on top of the refrigerator to work. Because if Ray just slammed Deborah against the refrigerator, he would just seem crazy. And when I posted that picture of Robert putting Amy on top of the refrigerator, a few weeks ago somebody wrote, the funnier part is when Ray slams Deborah. So that is true, but it's not funny without a setup. And the setup to a joke is, it's the same form whether you're doing a physical thing or you're performing it. It's setup and then punchline. Setup, punchline. That's the form. And so I also said it took 9 years to set that joke up. So if we did that episode, let's say Phil decided, hey, I want to do a thing where they move into a home in season 1. Well, the audience hasn't had any time to get to know how bad Frank and Marie are. So now, at the end of season 9, they've watched 9 years of the kids being tortured by those parents. So now, when they announce that they're going to move out, it carries with it the emotional weight of 9 years. So that setup allows that scene to have so much of an emotional charge, all right? Not to get inside baseball, and there's nothing worse than explaining to somebody why something is funny, but the fact that they have 9 years of that, and now when you're watching reruns, you've been watching it for 25 years. So now you've seen Marie being torturous to them, everything torturous from Frank and Marie. So when they make that announcement and then they go into that kitchen and Ray is slow dancing with Patty, with Deborah, and saying, we're comforting each other, and then Robert, they finally lose it and Robert kisses Ray. That is such a joyful moment to watch because we know how terrible Frank and Marie are. Now, I saw Ray recently and I asked him, do you remember how many takes you did slamming Patty against the refrigerator? He couldn't remember. I know we do it twice, so I can't remember either. We always do every scene twice. You always do it on every sitcom because should something in those days film. So if something happened to the film and they get back to the edit bay and they say, Phil, hey, Phil, you know that unbelievably funny moment when Ray slams Deborah against the refrigerator? There was a big scratch. Something got into the film and there was a scratch on the film throughout the whole take. It would be a tragedy because now you have to it's incomprehensible. You couldn't reshoot that scene because you would have to get the cast back. They have to look the same. They have to look the same because now it's a week later, 2 weeks later, and you're on to another show. So every single scene, even if that got the biggest laugh in the history of our show, they're going to shoot it again just for that reason. So they definitely did at least 2 takes. Now, I saw Patty recently, but we didn't talk about that episode. But I will ask her if she remembers how many takes it did and if it hurt her at all. And my guess is no, or a little bit. and it was worth the laugh. That would be my guess. And just a little inside secret, when Robert puts Amy on top of the refrigerator, in real life, Brad Garrett wasn't able to lift Monica Rosenthal that high. And so they lowered the refrigerator. So for those of you that are real fans watching the episode, you should be able to tell that the refrigerator in the home episode is a little bit lower than it is in the other episodes. So look for that. I don't know that I could spot it, you know. Let's see now. Going through. Great. Oh, I'm scrolling through these questions. So I hope that covers up. Yes, that's one of the reasons. One of the reasons it's one of the funniest scenes because of the 9-year buildup, and also the execution of Brad. All the actors in that scene. Obviously, all the actors on the show, but in that scene, it's just, you know, it's just fantastic. Their execution of, you know, Brad Garrett, the execution of throwing him up there in Monica's face when she's, you know, elated. And when you're watching a character, the audience endows that character with what you think they're thinking. So that's why a lot of romantic scenes in a movie that's a romantic comedy or just a romance, when boy meets girl, you're already thinking, is there some attraction there? And so you're endowing Monica, Amy, the Amy character, with how happy she is, and Robert, how happy he is. So you're also projecting that onto them. Yes, Anna and Monica would be great. I look forward to that. Yes, Ray with Jerry Stiller on King of Queens. Yes, that was a great episode. I went to that episode. Let me know if you want. I'll post a picture of Jerry Stiller here. Tom Jones. Okay, Windlepoons. Tom Jones is currently playing an outdoor gig a few miles from us. We've had to listen, but decided ELR 360 was a better bet. Okay, Windlepoons, a lot of pressure. All I have to do is be better than Tom Jones. What happened to Ray's buddy on the pilot? We never saw him again. Great question, Real Kenny Pooh. I like that. I like that name. Okay, so so Leo was in the pilot, the first episode. I don't remember. So then you never saw him again. You are correct. Phil's friend, who played Bernie, Tom McGowan, who's an amazing actor who was on Broadway and in Frasier, and you've recognized tons and tons of TV, too much to list, who I will be talking to Tom. I saw him recently, and he's going to come on, and hopefully he can come on for a few episodes and talk to us. So when I asked Phil about what happened to Leo, the friend in the pilot, he couldn't remember if he wasn't available or took something else, took some other job. So just to go back into time, Everett Raymond was not that's an understatement that it wasn't a guaranteed hit, but it was really below the radar. So my agent even talked one of her clients out of directing any of the episodes the first season. So she was like, that's not a good show. It's not a lot of heat on it. It's probably not going to happen. So when Leo, and we'll find out the actor's name, if he did pass or did take something else, you know, Everybody Loves Raymond wasn't a good bet. Now, in hindsight, he, as Phil would say about certain people that worked on the show, he chose poorly. Now, I don't know what exactly the whole story is there, but that's probably 90% sure what's happening. The home episode is a setup for Not So Fast, yes, which is hysterical when they go to the office. Yes, I know that scene verbatim. Yes, Teresa. So one of the things that Phil did talk about a lot is when he knew that Robert was going to get married, that gives you stories to tell. And so the home sets up Not So Fast. And in that episode, Phil said, okay, how do we make Robert's life not back to the way it was if the parents are going to be back, but worse than his life was? So any character, any type of arc, any movie or anything, you have to see the character changing. You can't have a character the same at the beginning and the same at the end within reason. I mean, Seinfeld's characters didn't change. They didn't learn. Their whole thing was no learning, no emotions, no all that stuff. But for the most part, you want to see some type of arc of the character changing, and that happens in between scenes. Between scenes. So you can't have Ray is happy at the beginning of the scene, Ray is happy at the end of the scene, then Ray is happy at the next scene. That doesn't make for a good show. But excellent observation, Teresa. Teresa, yes, Stephen Lee played Leo. Yes, thank you for that. Yes, go with the flow, babe. Yes, lots of Frasier. Tom McGowan, which is great. Okay, let's scroll through. Having it great. Awesome. All right, now. Okay, Donnell, am I pronouncing it correctly? Because you know the show better than almost anybody. You did not spot that. Now, the height of a refrigerator is really hard to spot. So I think they might have taken the legs off or the feet off of the refrigerator. But 100% they they lowered the refrigerator because I think Brad's back was hurting. No offense to Monica. Yes, funny, Bobby. The old lowering the refrigerator trick. That is really about as inside as you're going to get. That's a little tidbit. All right. I want to show now the episode that I leafed through last week. Okay? So for those of you that are new, this is Tom Caltabiano, and I was a writer on Everybody Loves Raymond for all 9 years. And when the show ended, I was walking through on stage, and I walked into the wardrobe department and the props department, and there were big boxes of scripts. And I said, what are you doing with all these scripts? What are you doing with these 200 scripts? And every script had every iteration of from every episode, meaning the tabled read, the second day, the third day, the fourth. Every day we shot, a new script came out, a revised version of the original script. And so they were throwing them out, so I saved them. And so now I am randomly going through them. So this, for those of you that watched last week, this is Getting Even. I'll go through it a little quicker than I ordinarily would. So here's how it looks. I know it's all backwards for you guys, and I don't know how to flip it yet. I don't know if there is a way to flip it. But there's the character's name. Ray, Deborah, Marie, Frank, Robert, Allie, and the twins, okay? And then it breaks down. Every scene is up here, and then who's in the scene and what wardrobe changed. So I know it's backwards. It's very hard to read it backwards. It's very hard to read it front ways because there's not the best handwriting here. So this is what a shooting script looks like. This is the cast. It'll say who all the cast is, and it says what all the sets are. So again, I know it's backwards, but the sets, the cast, okay, and who plays that cast. And so this is every scene, okay? Every scene, that's a script. There you go. That is the shooting script. Shooting scripts are always yellow. At the end of the script, you will get to this, and it will say end of show, fade out, backwards, end of show here, fade out here. But now this is where it gets interesting. This is Getting Even, so every character's page is stapled. So there's Ray, and I'm going to show another different episode at the end of this. There is Ray, there's his wardrobe, again, backwards, writing backwards. And the reason, when you see a lot of these photos, so this is Elizabeth Herring, who was the dialogue coach, and she is talking to Ray, going over lines with Ray. And the reason a lot of these photos are really, the actors aren't even looking at the wardrobe people. Here's another one of Ray, not looking at the wardrobe people. So the reason that a lot of these photos are that way, or almost all of them, is because, and this I've explained for those of you who watched before, but the wardrobe department's job is to capture what the wardrobe is, period, and they don't want to be in the way. So when they come in and take a photo, it's very often, there's a lot of other stuff going on. So there's Ray, and then they'll do with Ray, they need to know shoes, they need to know clothes, They need to know the watch that Ray's wearing. So for those mistakes that you guys spot, let's say it doesn't matter what it is. Let's say it's the wardrobe. You say, wait a minute, Ray was wearing this or this or this. The reason that all these Polaroids exist is so that they know what to dress the actors in, and know also what were they doing on the last, the take before, and they have to prepare everything. They have to put it in wardrobe. Okay, Ray, scene ends. Ray goes to his dressing room. Wardrobe department comes up and goes, Ray, here's your wardrobe right there. Okay, Ray puts it on and comes out. And so if he comes out and the continuity person goes, Ray's missing his watch, now someone has to run up, get Ray's watch, bring it down. Everybody's waiting. So there's they don't have room for error. There is Patty. So now we're into the Patty section. Okay, there's Patty on the couch, Patty in the background, Patty in bed during Getting Even, the Getting Even episode. There's Patty. Try and get rid of that glare. Yes. All right, there we go. So you can see, and again, I can't read that writing, and it's front ways for me. So, and as usual, I will post some of these stills, and some of these stills I have posted before. Here we go, the Getting Even. So there. Patty very focused on the couch. They have to make sure they know what earrings Patty's wearing. So there's a lot of photos that are very much like that. And I always get a kick out of these photos. Here's Marie from Getting Even, I guess. There we go. Looking good. That might be a blanket. So that looks like a shot of a blanket or of a robe. And then here, again, they have to know what was Marie wearing for earrings. So, and more of Doris. Yes, Getting Even episode. More of Doris's earrings. And I will say this, as someone who took tons of pictures, Doris knew where the camera was at all time. She was great. So here's Peter again. They're just worried about wardrobe. They're just worried. They're not trying to make a good picture, and they're trying not to be intrusive. Here is Brad, Robert from that episode, another one of Robert from that episode. And so I think I've explained it before. Let's see, the kids, yes. So here is Madeline Sweeten. I'll have Ashley Steuer on, who is, here we go, here's the twins. There you go, the twins. So that is Getting Even episode. And if somebody, yes, Getting Even, I think might have been written by Steve Scrovan. Someone else will know that more. So here's the, yeah, so sorry, I'm paging through. Yeah, I think that was written by Steve Scrovan. And I will show another episode before I sign off. Okay. So the home. Let's see. The home. Who wrote the home? I don't remember who wrote the home episode. Someone will know. That's an easily looked up thing. Let me scroll back up. Great questions. Look at this. 9 years of holy crap. That's great. Halloween candy. I was late. Yes, so last week's live, for those of you just joining, it just... something happened, it didn't post, and it's gone. You can't recover it. It doesn't live on my computer, and so it was very sad that it went away. So I was trying to answer questions that we talked about last week. My son asked me to get him a congratulations Woody banner for his birthday because of Robert's party. Yes, little Z, that's great. So my friend in real life's name is Woody, and I wrote that Bachelor episode, Bachelor Party episode, I think with Mike Royce, and I thought Woody just sounded like a funny name, and that was my real life friend. I grew up with him in New Jersey, and I thought, it's so far away from Robert that seems funny. So Phil said, "Yeah, let's. You can use Woody." And if it wasn't funny, we would not have used the name Woody, but it just sounded fantastic. Let me see. Christmas episode with the brownie mix. Yes, banner straight to your eyes. Yes. Hello, Bosnia. How are you? Hello. I love all these hellos in between you guys. So the Halloween candy. The Halloween candy episode, I will have to ask Steve Scrovan. He wrote it. I know he had the idea season 1, but we didn't have the show. I think if Phil tried to get Frank hands out condoms in season 1, it would have been tough. So I think for those of you watching, you'll know better than me. I think we did that in season 3. And just a little, we had Peter Boyle dressed as Frankenstein, which many of you know. If you haven't seen Young Frankenstein, why haven't you? It's one of the funniest scenes. One of the funniest movies in history. Let's see, the scene with Ray, yes, on the sofa, waiting to see if Frank and Ray are definitely going. Marie says yes, and they all squeal. Okay, so Karen, I will post a picture of that moment because somebody took a picture of me at that moment, so you'll see me very close to the stage. It's about as close as I've ever gotten to the stage because you just don't want to be distracting or intrusive. So that's a great moment. Yes, I think Patty, she holds back her celebration, if I remember the picture correctly. Let me know if you want to see that photo. Let's see. Yeah, Donnell, maybe Patty. Patty might remember. So who wrote that episode? Let me see if you guys, let me scroll. Oh, I'm way behind. Look at this. This is great. Yes, Halloween Candy, season 3, episode 6. Yeah, that's what I thought. I think that's what I said. And a little bit of trivia there. If you look at the bloopers reel, you'll see Phil Rosenthal's real son, who in real life inspired the Angry Family. Phil's son plays one of the trick-or-treaters. And they keep, you have to act, so you have to keep doing the same scene over and over again. And so Ben is there, and they want to give him more candy because we have to do the scene again. And Ben says, because he's 4 maybe, or 5, and so when they tried to give him more candy, next scene, he said, I think I have enough, which was a very nice thing. V. Gates, Hanover, New Jersey. V. Gates, Hanover, Deutschland. One of my favorites was Older Woman, Rhythm in the Rum. Yes, Older Women. I will do that. Yes, Pam, Woody from Sparta. You are correct. You are the only person who would know that. The Home was written by Phil, Tucker, and Jeremy. Yes, that is correct. And it might be Tucker. So it gets confusing if you look on IMDb because Phil created the show, so it says his name on almost every episode, if not. So it might have been all 3 of them. I don't remember. I do have. I found a book. I don't think I have it handy, but I found a book that has every single cover page from every single episode of Raymond in a big 3-ring binder in my file. So it's easy to look at. Yes, that's why we do 2 takes, because of that. And for those of you that go to a filming, I've talked about it. Friends would take 6 hours sometimes to do a 22-minute show. So a 30-minute show is really only 22 minutes. And so they always have to do 2 takes, so you're instantly doubling the time, then you have traveling time in between scenes, etc. Ray, Phil, and Scrovan have writing credits on Getting Even. Yeah, so my guess is it was just a Steve Scrovan script. This is a good one to solve, Donnell. You're great. So let me look at Getting Even, and somewhere it'll say who wrote it. Now, because the name is here, okay, the name of who wrote it is here, but it's behind this piece of paper that the wardrobe department uses for their guide. So that's why I don't have access to it, but I think it may be somewhere else within the script, which I'll page. But I think that's why it's confusing, because it says based on the comedy. Okay, so here we go. Problem solved. Okay, so that's a little bit of clue. So here, Again, I know it's backwards, but this says directed by. Okay, right. Let me get this. Okay, so here we go. That's directed by, backwards for you guys, Steven Zuckerman, written by Steven Scrovan. So it gets a little confusing when you look up there, Steven Scrovan. So one person wrote the script. Steven Scrovan wrote the Getting Even script, but it gets confusing because Phil and Ray are on every, if you look it up on IMDb, I hope that clears it up. How do you decide who to write with? That's a great question, Karen. So what generally happens is if you want to write, so Ray and I wrote, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 episodes together. We are comfortable writing together, and it worked out well that way. I wrote the Young Girl episode with Aaron Shore because Aaron and I get along and we knew each other, etc. So almost anybody could write an episode, but when you're writing an episode with somebody else, you're also splitting the money. So you only get half the money. So writing with somebody else doesn't help you financially, but it's usually much easier and a little bit more fun when you're writing with somebody else. So I think the the breakup tape I wrote with Aaron Shore also. We get along again. So who is Woody from Pam? Are you asking me who is Woody? Is there a comma in there? So you know the Sharp family, correct? Yes, I'm scrolling through these questions. Great questions, everybody. Phil's son inspired the Angry Family episode. Yes, he literally said that while Phil and his family were there. He went up and said the Angry Family. Let's see, Karen, did the actors have script prompts on the set? On Friends, they wrote on the kitchen table? 0, when you say prompts, like a cheat sheet or something like that. So, no. On Everett Raymond, nobody had a script. Nobody had anything on the table. Nobody had a cheat sheet. You know, like I think Marlon Brando, they used to write the lines, his lines on the other actor's head. They used to put them there so he could read them. Was Raybert based on a true story? It's so hilarious. So, I think that was a Steve Scrovan episode also, who I just talked to recently. I saw him recently with Patty Heaton at a screening. One of the things that we talked about when Ray and I had to share an apartment the first year of Everett Raymond, we would come in with stories. And there was a little bit of crossover there in that way. So we'll talk. I don't want to say more because I want Steve Scrovan to tell the story. But yes, Karen, nothing. You literally just split it. But you, if you have any, so I'm going to read the question out loud because, as you know, the questions go away. Do you split the money, or does it depend who writes the most when writing together? It's a very funny question. It's really, it's just funny because it sounds like, okay, let's count the words that we each wrote and we get a nickel a word. No, once you split it, you split it. It doesn't matter who wrote what, but when you're writing together, you can't not equally participate. So someone might come up with this funny joke and then that funny joke, but there's no such thing as, you wouldn't be working there anymore if you're like, I'm only going to write one page. It just hasn't. Pam, you know John Sharp, right? So John Sharp's younger brother. This is very inside stuff. The breakup tape, yes. So let me just go back to these things. Great questions again. Great question, Andrea. Besides holiday-themed one, how is the order of the episodes determined? Okay, so that's a phenomenal question. So for the home, it just seemed like a good opening for the season. And then the natural episode that has to follow after is Not So Fast. So they're going to move into a home, and then they are going to move back. So for the most part, it's random unless there's a story arc for the season. So when Robert got married, Phil knew it has to be, he has to ask permission. The parents are going to have their response to it. So we know there's an overarching, there's an arc, a character arc for that season. So we know, Phil knows, we're going to end with Robert's wedding. We have to get to Robert's wedding. So we have to piecemeal episodes that service that storyline where we're going throughout the season. So it's not a soap opera where they're going to have one after another, and they're all continuous. So you want them to stand alone so you don't have to go in our previous episode. So for the most part, it's random episodes. So unless there's that arc. So Phil might look at the board and go, you know what? If the script's done, let's move this closer to Sweeps Weeks because it turned out to be really good. And for those of you in England and in Australia, Sweeps Week in network TV land was the most important week. Everybody would put up their best episodes. The Nielsen ratings counted. You would figure out how much advertisers would pay in Sweeps Week, and I think it was twice a year, but I could be wrong. It could be 3 times a year. So, yes, I hope that answers that question. Oh, this is great. Was Brad? I don't want to miss it. Was Brad scared of being chased by the bull? I think in the normal human being way of wanting not to get gored by a bull, he was scared, but it was very safely executed. But yeah, Brad did not. Yeah, he didn't have he didn't come in and have a special fear of bulls. So it was the normal human being fear of getting gored by a bull, I would say. But we'll ask Brad next time he's on. And again, this is Tom Cultibiano, as a writer on Everett Raymond for all 9 years, and we are talking on Everett Raymond ELR 360 Live. Okay, go with the flow, babe. I also love the Captain Nemo episode. Was there actually a pizza leak? Okay, so yes. Okay, so Ray, who grew up in Queens, in real life, Ray had a dog, and his dog was named Nemo. So the name of Ray's softball team with his brother was called Nemo's. So when they had, and I played on that softball team, we won like 3 championships. For those of you that are familiar with New York, we played under the 59th Street Bridge. The Feeling Groovy song has that from Simon and Garfunkel. It's a very iconic bridge that connects Manhattan to Queens. So Nemo, Ray's like, let's name that pizza place after my dog. And so they named the pizza place in Everybody Loves Raymond after Ray Romano's real-life dog. And Ray Romano had in real life a team named after his dog. So, and then we just gave the character the name Nemo. I hope that clear. That's a lot of inside information, rare, only to be found here, unless you ended up running into Ray and asking him in a bar. Chris Elliott would be such a great guest. P.S. Peter was there. Karen, yes. I'm skipping over a question by accident. I know how Peter. Yeah, sorry, Chris Elliott and that Peter character. I mean, he just ran with it. Chris Elliott is such a nice guy and just brilliantly funny, and he really leaned into that character and made it into a really great character. Did I have an episode that was based on your real life? Zoe asking. Hello, Zoe. Is this a Zoe I know or a Zoe I've never met? So I've had a few episodes that were based on my real life and other episodes in Raymond that were based on my life. The Young Girl episode, the Jazz Records episode. I'm trying to think if there's a few others that were like lifted directly. The traffic cop Timmy was kind of inspired by this ventriloquist dummy that I would bring into the writer's room. And so one of the writers wrote an episode where Robert has a ventriloquist dummy and gets out his real feelings. The idea of a car getting driven into the house get used. So that was a Lou Schneider script, for those of you who haven't seen it. And again, other than last week's where it didn't post for whatever reason, you guys can go back and watch every ELR 360 live that I've done, including one I did with Brad Garrett, where Ray pops in the background, many with Phil Rosenthal, with Monica Rosenthal, who played Amy. So the car idea was inspired by Lou Schneider's parents' neighbor, but Phil also, they kicked it up a notch by having it drive through the house. And I remember in L.A. there were a bunch of reports of that. You would hear that on the news. Car crashed into a house. And so it's nothing, it's just a very funny story idea. And the phrasing, what is it? A lost cause? Oh, a lost cause, 69. I get it. Why? I'm going to read this because the specifics of language is important, especially for comedy. Why did the idea of a car getting driven into the house get used? Because it was funny. That's the main reason. And how it came about, obviously, is different. Did you prefer writing for a season arc, or did you prefer writing shared standalone episodes? Excellent question, Heidi, again. So the one thing about an arc is you know where the episode is going, you know where you have to go. And so it makes it a little easier in that you know what you have to get accomplished. But you're also constrained by that, where you go, okay, we have to have this happen by the end so it connects to the other end. And sometimes you would write together an episode. So I wrote one called 6 Feet Under with Cindy Shupak and Steve Scrovan. We all wrote it together, and we broke the story, meaning we figured out every beat of the story. Then we each wrote a portion of that together, the script portion, and then joined them together. So that's kind of a fun thing because you're excited to see what other things the other writers have come up with. Did Ray improvise any scenes? He improvised a lot of the jokes. We call them second takes. But for the most part, you can't really improvise too much because unlike just a one-man show or a stand-up show, actors are in a conversation. So if all of a sudden you go off the rails, meaning you're just making up stuff, the actors have to go, okay, when am I coming back in? And more importantly, something that you don't think about when you're watching is, and I've talked about this in other episodes, but every single person, and let me see if this is a numbered script. No, this is not a numbered script. Let me look at this other one. So every single person involved in the set has a numbered script in front of them. So the camera moves, the microphone moves, everything is going back to a specific line. So when Ray says a line, and then all three cameras have to move right after that line. If he doesn't say that line, all three cameras are sitting there waiting for that line to be said. And so sometimes when you would be on the set and you would hear, okay, we got to go back. Where are we going back to? Line 73. So it takes away all the mystery. There is no the line where Ray talks about Deborah. That doesn't happen because it has to be precise, and there can be no like, oh, where is that line? So there's a numbered script on show night, so you have to go right back to that number. So that's, even if Ray was brilliant and could ad-lib everything, he can't because it would ruin the flow of the show. That's a great question. Great question. Upper thigh, right. Yes, why didn't ELR have more bloopers? I don't know than Seinfeld. One of the things is, our scripts didn't change much at all during the week, so they had time to really learn their lines. So they learned their lines. And when you're making a blooper, we talked about, go back and watch Alex Manessis, we were talking about, when it's funny to watch. There's nothing funnier than the bloopers to watch. But when it's happening live, it's slowing down the whole process. So you really don't want to make a mistake as an actor. As funny as it is, you see like Brad apologizing sometimes. He goes, I'm sorry, I really, there's 200 people in the live audience. There's all the crew. Everybody is waiting to move forward and make the show as good as it is. So if somebody just couldn't stop laughing or something. That's as fun as that is to watch. The actors hate that they're slowing down everything. Yes, Patty was supposed to drop the turkey in Thanksgiving episode. Yes, that was all planned. That was 100% planned. Patty drops the turkey is in the script. How do I feel about a Marvel casting in a Marvel Cinematic Universe project? I personally am excited to see him in there. I don't think he is in a Marvel cinematic project yet, although he was approached to do it, and I don't think the timing worked out. Yes, whoops. All right, the Family Bed episode. Oh, yes, right in just Geppetto's workshop. Yes, so that's a great one, Bobby. Yes, for Family episode week, tried to come up with as many ad-libs and second takes, as we call them, as possible. Without the improv is more respectful of the other actors. There's no trying to be the funnier one, and every actor gets a chance. Yes, well, they're acting, and it's did Ray have scheduling difficulty doing ELR and Ice Age? No, not at all. Ice Age is, let's see, when was Ice Age? 2000 or something like that? That was no problem at all to do that. And for those of you that follow animation, when they do animation, there's not, shooting a movie is tough because you have to be on location and you have to go somewhere. When you do animation, you can record it from anywhere. So there's a recording studio. There's recording studios all over Los Angeles, and they can just say, Ray, can you do Wednesday from whatever to whatever, and he can do it. None of the other actors have to be there. There's no cameraman. It could be they could be doing something in England, and he could be doing it. Kathy Luce, yes, was the episode. Sorry, Kathy Losi. Is that how you say it, Kathy? I don't want to cast any aspersions trying to mispronounce your name in a correct mispronunciation. Was the episode where Ray spins his wedding band and loses it in the floor great, a true story? So, yes, it was based on a true thing. Okay, so Ray in the writer's room would take off his wedding ring, spin it on the table, and just see how long it could spin. So he would constantly it's hard to control that. And one time he lost his wedding ring, not spinning it, and I forget if it was during the shoot or whatever, but it was on the back lot of Warner Brothers, and it was, if you guys watched the Gilmore Girls, there was a gazebo in the Gilmore Girls. So the gazebo is on the Warner Brothers back lot. If any of you take a tour, which I highly recommend doing, a Warner Brothers behind-the-scenes tour, VIP tour, the Warner Brothers lot, it's phenomenal. It's a little pricey, but it's worth it. So if you ever go there, you'll see this gazebo. And at one point, a woman who worked on our show, Amy Jannon, who hopefully we'll have on soon, she spotted his wedding ring and found his wedding ring after he lost it, I think, for a few days. It was crazy that he did. So yes, that was a little bit inspired by that. Does one writer stay with the arc? Or does any writer writing contribute to it? And who decides to give character an arc? Who decides to give a character an arc? Phil does. And Ray, they would collaborate. But if Phil, it's all up to Phil. So there's no, and it's a very group, on Raymond I'm talking about. I don't know how any other show necessarily operates this way. But, Phil would say, I'm thinking about having Robert getting married, and maybe we could have this episode, this episode, this episode. And then we say, good idea, Phil. But in all seriousness, we would be like, well, maybe this, maybe this. So nobody would come in, and we only have our main characters. So nobody would come in and go, thinking about maybe, could we have Robert be a plumber, and then he becomes this? So nobody can pitch that big of an idea. They can pitch a funny idea, but not necessarily a story arc. Now, it was Phil's idea, but had somebody come up with the idea of like, can we get Robert married? Then Phil might have been like, yeah, that's a good idea. But Phil thought of the idea. And there was no real story arcs per se on our show other than, Robert's life going bad. Thank you. Writing was terrific. Yes. Thank you. Were there any borrowed stories from other shows? Borrowed stories? I don't think so, unless you're thinking of one that is similar. Yes, at the end, where did the idea for the swing dance episode, and where did you get the dancers? Redlands, Redhead, where did the idea? So, if I remember correctly, and Donnell might be able to tell me, that was written by Aaron Shore. It was the middle of the swing craze. They hired dancers. They wanted a few different bands, and I think it was, the band was Red Johnny or something like that. I could be making that up. But it was some swing band there. And they were all professional dancers that they were hired. So most sitcoms from Windlepoons. Most sitcoms usually have a peak performance / episode where it really gets talked about. For us ELR fans, there are good few episodes to choose. Do you have a particular standout episode? Windlepoons, yeah. Well, I think it's a good problem that Raymond had a lot of those episodes, but the first episode that really, when we were in the studio, was season 2, The Letter. The Letter episode was really the beginning of like, oh, this is a killer episode. And then it started to become like, oh, this is our best episode. This is our best episode. And so just like when I posted that picture of the home, everyone watching, many of you watching, wrote, this is one of my favorite, or if not my favorite episode. So I would say the baggage episode is notoriously is known as one of the best episodes. And yeah, so there's just so many episodes, but there's no, and I think there's a magazine that comes out. I don't think the public is reading it, but it's called Emmy Magazine, and Ray and Phil went through and picked out their favorite episodes. And so there are a bunch of episodes, and even Ray told me behind the scenes, he's like, well, I was thinking this one, but I don't know this one. So there are a lot of episodes that I think qualify. Great question, Windlepoons, as I would expect. All right, scrolling back up. Whoa, look at the time. My dad has all those jazz records, Coleman Hawkins, Ben Webster. That EP touched me as I grew up listening to them. Great. That is great. Yeah, that was, jazz records was very much based on my real life. These are great questions. Ray's dog and his softball teams. These are great. Yes, she was supposed to. So what do you say we look inside of another episode, another script? Hello, Andrea. Yes, I go live every Sunday at 2 p.m. Pacific time. I didn't want to post an announcement because I love that photo from the home. The lighting, real Kenny Pooh. The lighting seemed dim in the pilot, parts of season 1. Is that just quality loss in the rerun film, or was it really darker lighting? It must have been darker lighting, because film generally, well, here, I'll say this. Once there's I don't want to get into all this technical stuff, but once there's a digital transfer created, there is no loss of quality. So it was a little bit different. All right, scrolling up, I'm going to show the inside. Let's see, the next episode. Let me get final questions. Who wrote the Deborah says, I'm too tired. Can you just call yourself an idiot? Yeah, that's so funny. I don't remember who wrote that line, a very funny line. Which episodes did Ray, Doris, and Brad win Emmys for? Well, Ray won for the breakup tape. I know Brad, I think, won. So Brad won many, but I think Lucky Suit. Boy, if Brad is watching, he'll be like, Tommy, I watched it for this. I won it for this one, and this one. Doris won one for Marie's Vision, and I think maybe Lucky Suit also. But that is a great question. We will have to come back. Yes, Bobby, the DVD extras, for those of you that had questioned it, I think it's only available on the DVD because you have to have an option to play with the commentary. And for those of you that enjoyed that photo I posted, it's behind the scenes of the DVD commentary. And I don't think anybody had notes. We just kind of talked about the episode as it was going by, and that was one thing that I found it was a little frustrating because I'm now talking about the show, but I'm not watching the show. But this is about an hour conversation or monologue about the show, and so when you're watching an episode, it goes by so quickly because it's meant to be entertaining and not stop. So your desires to stop and go, oh, in this scene, Patty gets thrown against a refrigerator, and I remember. But by the time you get that out, they're already on to the next scene. So it is fun to watch, and as I say, it's as good. It's the only time you can get if Ray and Phil and the cast came over to your house and just sat and watched an episode of the show with you and just said, oh, yeah, that's the feeling of the commentary. All right, time to look at another episode. All right. This episode is called Ping Pong. Ping Pong. Written by Aaron Shore. This was Aaron Shore's first episode. Aaron joined us in season 3 of Everybody Loves Raymond. And now I'm going to look through this page and see. Here's what I pointed out before. There you can see it is backwards, but written by Aaron Shore, directed by Will Mackenzie. Now, somebody commented that Patty Heaton was pregnant in that other episode. I think she was very pregnant in this episode because I've taken some pictures, which I'll post of yours. But first to Ray. There is Ray from the ping pong episode. You can see the ping pong table there. And I think, let's see, here we go. There is Patty Heaton getting rid of the glare. And this is Patty, who was definitely pregnant. And I think from this episode, we tried to use Patty as little as possible because she was pregnant. So, and I think if you guys know when the ping pong episode was, my guess is it was later in the season because Patty, I think, had to miss a few days because she decided to give birth. So yeah, there's only one of those. And now here's Doris. And Doris again. Yes, and her face looks very white. And we had questions before about why Doris looks so white. There's Peter Boyle, looking very Betty Frankish, and there he is, ready to do. Now, it's great to see these photos because you know the episode so well. To see them behind the scenes wearing the outfit that you know that they were wearing the episode is great. And again, I'm just picking these randomly from my. Here is our friend Brad Garrett. And again, Brad Garrett. So people who have watched that show recently, my guess is there weren't a lot of wardrobe changes because there's only one set of pictures, one or two changes per person. There's Madeline Sweeten. And there are the twins with a little stuffed animal. And let's see. Yes, so there we go. The ping pong episode, not a lot of wardrobe changes. So there, you can see, here's the list of characters, and you can see it's a very light amount of notes versus Getting Even, which has a crazy amount of notes. Okay, again, I will post some of those pictures from inside, pictures of those Polaroids. Yes, Pam, she decided to give birth. Very funny. She went with it. Yes, the kids are very cute at that age. All right, I'm going to wrap it up. Great questions for anybody that I did not answer your question. Please write. I try and read every comment and like every comment. And if I don't reply to your comment, it's because I'm going to speak about your comment at length on ELR 360 Live. Next week we will have a guest. Let's see. Yes, Robin, I believe Patty only missed Cruising with Marie is the only one that we wrote her out of it. Golf episode, yes, really, yes. Golf episode, I wrote that one with Kevin James. Kevin James, Ray, and I wrote the golf episode, and Ray gets the doctor's note to play more golf. That was the name of my doctor in real life, Dr. Subaru Sundram, in Dover, New Jersey. So that, so yes, some of that episode is true, and you exaggerate to make things funnier. Yes, the lucky suit, classic, great. All right, I will see you all next week with a guest. Thank you much for joining me, everybody. Thank you for all of your comments. Get your questions ready. I will post who our guest is next week, and we will have fun. All right, thank you. Good to see you guys.